Welcome everyone, and thank you for viewing this partner enablement session. In this session, we will be covering the online solutions configuration tool, OSC, and specifically how to create an Isilon solution. Before we start, there are great online resources at the Dell Partner Portal. Please see the links here on the screen for both access to the portal as well as specifically around the tools that we're going to be using here. As always, to make a solution building quicker and easier, please spend time in the OSC. Become familiar with the solutions that you're trying to build and help yourself build these solutions for the product that your team usually architects for your customers. Importantly, become familiar with the order that OSC is asking for the information while you're building these solutions. For the purposes of this enablement, I've created a quick cheat sheet for building the Isilon solutions. So thank you, and now let's get started. We're going to build our Isilon solution. I have taken an existing bill of materials from a previous order, and I've overlaid that with my little cheat area over here on the right. Again, the purpose of these cheats are not to gather every piece of information, but to get the total information, the highest level, and put it in an order that you're going to be utilizing within OSC to make your job even easier and help you really spit out built solutions within the OSC quicker and easier so that you can get pricing back to yourself and back to your customer faster. So with that, I'm going to break over here to the Excel spreadsheet. And as you can see, again, I've built my cheat area already. So for an Isilon, we're looking for specific tools and specific pieces as we go through the configuration within the online solutions configurator. So we're looking specifically for the type, the size and capacity, and whether or not it's self-encrypting drives or not. Additionally, are there additional caching drives? So we do have additional performance capabilities within them. Specifically for Isilon and Isilon clusters, we do need to know what the back-end connectivity as well as the front-end connectivity to the core network looks like. And then once we've updated all of these and moved forward in the configuration, we do need to change quantities to reflect that size and capacity of the Isilon node that we've chosen. We'll fall into some additional software, and again, we'll look through and look at chassis and switches and accessories as we fall through the configuration. So with that, I'm going to start pulling the information out. And again, we're pulling this out to help speed it up because bouncing between an Excel spreadsheet or a PDF and bouncing back and forth to the OSC and bouncing up and down and left and right in the configuration can be confusing, but also can be very, very time consuming. So in this particular case, we do have the type, and we're looking through the configuration, and it is an H400. We're looking at specifically at the size of the H400. So as I look through this list, I'm going to be looking to see what node that this is. And so here I'm looking at it. It is a SED, so they are self-encrypting drives. And there's 15 4-terabyte drives plus the 1.6 terabyte cache drive. So in this particular moment, this is going to be a 60 terabyte with the SED drives. And so that includes one of the 1.6 terabyte drives for caching, but we also have an additional 1.6 drive here. As we continue down the list, we're going to be looking for back-end configuration, back-end connectivity. So as we go through here, we're going to look, and there it is, our 210 gig SFP plus back-end without the optics, 2x10 GBE. And then from a front-end connectivity, it's going to be the one that's not labeled as the back-end. So in this case, it's going to be exactly the same, the 210 gigs. I'm just going to pull that down. By the way, you'll notice I wrote in 60 terabytes. So it's the 15 times 4 terabytes within the actual node itself. We make sure we have to change the capacities to 60 terabytes. As we continue through, we're going to be looking at the additional software and the additional software components. And I'm just going to highlight them. I'm not going to write them all down. So as I look through here, I'm going to be looking at my base capacities and everything else. I got my HDFS, my basic bundle. my basic bundle capacity tier. The STIG hardening is in here. I have Swift for 1FS, but I also have, sorry about the change in size here, but I also have Cloud Pools enabled as well. So I'm just going to highlight them. I'm going to pull them out in yellow. That way we can see them clearly when we go through the configuration. As I continue on with this, I do have my software that we just identified. So now I need to look at my chassis, and the chassis isn't really a specific call out. It's really going to be about what type of additional hardware that you have. So I have my PDP, I have my support. So I just need to make sure that I understand that when we do configure, there are a couple of pieces within the chassis. And then from a switching perspective, we do have some back-end switches here. So we do have the S404112s switches here, and there are 2 of them within this configuration. Other accessories and things like a rack or cables, just make a note of that as we go through. Again, this is just a quick up. This is not a how to configure 100%. So we'll make notes of that and go through some of those options as we go through. So now that I've got everything in order, and again, it's pretty simple. Isilon is an appliance model, so it's a fairly simple configuration. You don't need to worry about CPUs or memory or a lot of the other additional parts. So now I'm going to log into and configure, start pulling through the online configuration tool. I'm going to pull these off to the side so I can see them. And then I'm going to go into my configuration and I'm going to create a new solution. I'm going to call it the Isilon for test. Definitely going to ask you guys that as you can build out configurations, make sure you put in some real information in the solution name. So if you have an RFQ number, an RFI number, please put that in. If it's registered, you have a registration number, please put that in. Again, the more information is really there to help you, help our distributors, and help us identify what these configurations are for as we build them out and price them out for you. So again, with Isilon, we're going to go through and create this. So we've created our Isilon for test solution, and now we're going to add products to it. So I'm going to type in Isilon, and there we go. Isilon new solution is what we want to select here. So we're going to add that in. And we're going to configure it. This is a wizard-driven configuration. So once we're here, we just hit Configure Edit. And now we can start going through. So the first piece of information was the type. I would like to point out that I did forget to go through and see how many of these nodes there were going to be. So there are going to be 4 nodes. The base license here is 4. So we're going to actually times 4. So it's going to be an H400. So we're going to look at the list. We're going to find Isilon H400 and select that. And again, the second piece of information in our cheat sheet is going to be the size of the unit and the self-encrypting capabilities. So we're going to scroll down and we're going to find it's 180 terabytes is the first, 15, 12 terabyte drives. Well, that's not correct. So we're going to open that up and we're going to find our 60 terabytes, but we're also going to note that it does have the SEDs. So we do need 60 terabytes with the SEDs. So we're going to scroll down, H400 SED, 60 terabytes, 15 by 4, but that's with the 3.2. So we do need to scroll down a little further, 60 terabytes, 15 times 4 with the 1.6. So now that we've added that, the next is going to be an additional caching drive. So I'm going to shrink that down. I'm going to keep going down. This is for a new cluster. And there is an additional 1.6 terabyte cache drive. All right, it get kind of convenient here. The 2 back-end and front-end connectivities are, the back-end is a default at 210 gig with the SFP Plus. But we are going to change our front end to match the 210 gig without optics. And then the next thing on the cheat list is to go through and change all the capacities to match what we have. So I need to change this to 60. I need to change the advanced bundle. And as I look through here, I have my basic bundle, but I don't have advanced. So I do need to change that before I change it. So this is going to be 1FS, and we're going to pull down the software bundle. We're going to go basic bundle. And we are going to change that to 60. I'm sorry, to 60 terabytes. And as we scroll down, again, we want to keep looking. So additional software is HDFS is in there. But we also do need cloud pools, because we have our cloud pools, the base license and the capacity license. And we also have STIG hardening. We don't have any of the other stuff here, so we do have HDFS. We've selected our basic bundle, the STIG hardening. I'm sorry, we do have Swift, so I'm going to click on Swift as well. My bad for admitting. And then cloud pools at the end. We do have our 36 months of pro support, so we have to verify and validate that, 3 years of pro support. And we do have our more capacities to continue to fill in. Now on this list here, there is the keep your hard drive, and I should put that in my cheat list, so I will. But keep your hard drive is here. For the federal government, this is actually a normal thing. It's not always, but it's pretty normal to see that. So now we've filtered out and we've configured all of the basics within this top part of the list. There's really not a lot more here. So let's scroll back up to the top. And we're going to check and validate that we have no errors on this configuration. So we do have external SSD and disk pack support is required with the additional cache drive. We have additional software is required with the additional software is selected. So we do need to check some of these pieces and parts. So we're going to go external disk and support. We're going to go and find out the additional. We have cloud pools. So when that comes up, we do need to change that to 60. So as you can see, using and relying on the error screens is actually very convenient. It does help a tremendous amount. So now we just need the external SSD and power pack. We do need to find that. There it is. So we do need to have that turned on as well. And this is a per terabyte for per high terabyte, so it's just one. That should have cleared my errors there. So select cloud pools from the base software as well. Oops, and I did select the wrong one. We do need Swift as well. and stig hardening. So now we scroll back up to the top and notice now there are no hard errors on the node. We do have 2 errors in the actual configuration. So I do need to set my node quantity as well as the chassis power cords as well. So now we're ready to continue. There is no quantity here, as you can see. So we're going to continue. And when this comes back, it should give us a total list of what hardware and software is in a node. And you'll notice now I can change my node count. So here on the right-hand side, I'm going to change this to 4. So when that comes up, I now have 4 nodes to configure. So I'm going to continue. Do we need Data IQ or Superna? We do not. Again, they are not part of this software, the software in this node. From a chassis perspective, we're going to select the chassis and we're going to change the power cords again because it does actually require that. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. We do not need to change that. All we need to change is the actual accessories, the power cord accessories for the chassis. So we do have Dell networking switches. So we do have the backend switch, the S4112. We're going to select that. And we're going to add in the backend switch of the Dell S4112. And again, we do have the documentation that gets updated as well as the 3 years of support that we have. I'm going to continue. Within the Isilon, we do have our power cord kit. So that is the one area that we do have. So we're going to select and modify the chassis kit. If we go to power kits, right now it's sitting at 1. We do need to change that to 2 for best practice. Again, that's for the entire chassis itself. We do not have a rack. So the next step we will skip. If indeed there were other services on here, we could do that. Notice we are starting to with the power scale nomenclature as well. And then you'll get your summary. Once everything here looks good, we're going to do a finish. And with that, you've actually completed your Isilon build out. So we're going to save this. And then we're going to send this configuration ID, the solution ID, to our distributor. We're going to ask for standard pricing. If it's a registered opportunity, we'll make sure we put the registration number in there and ask also for registered pricing. So if you guys have any more questions on this, feel free. My link is in the bottom here. You have full access to myself as your data center account executive. So please feel free to email me, but also talk to your distributor, get some ideas. But really the most important thing is to stay in the configuration tool and become super familiar with the order that it's asking you for stuff. So again, thank you very much and have a great afternoon.